Hey everybody, welcome to the part 2 of the Unit 4 review. In this video I have everything worked out ahead of time to save time. I'm just going to explain to you how I got those answers. So number 6 says, given the table, write the quadratic equation that best represents the table. All you do is plug this table into Desmos. So let's go to Desmos. You just click add table, plug in the values, and then you have to type in this equation exactly as I have it written, just like I did in the notes, the 3.4 notes. It'll give you this. These are your parameters for A, B, and C. It's pretty tiny, so let me zoom in a little bit. And it says A is 0.5, B is 5, and then C is all this. This is trying to tell you scientific notation. It's saying C is 0. Okay. Sometimes this happens in this calculator. If you use another calculator like the Inspire or the TI-84, something like that happens every now and then too. So I don't know why. Just know that C is 0 when you get a number like this. Because yeah, it's telling you to move that decimal spot 16 times to the left. All right, so that's a really small number. So this is what I wrote down, 0.5x squared plus 5x. You could write down the plus 0 if you feel like it, but if it's a multiple choice test, you won't have the plus 0 there, so it'll just say y equals 0.5x squared plus 5x. To answer the follow-up questions, what is the output when the input is 6? So x equals 6. I wrote y equals 48. How did I know that? Well, input values are x values. So you just have to type in x equals 6 into Desmos, x equals 6, and then find the intersection. So you could zoom out if you need to. 6 comma 48. There we go. So 48 would be my output value. Output values are y values. So 6C says, what is the input when the output is 3? Output is a y value. So type in y equals 3. And then you're looking for the x values. So I'm going to get two answers there because y equals 3 makes a horizontal line, which will intersect 2 times with this. And those are the two intersections. Okay. The last thing to get is the vertex. All you have to do is just find the vertex, tap on it or click on it, and there you go. Number 7 says, write the equation of a parabola with the following attributes. It opens up as a minimum value at -8, axis of symmetry at x equals -3, and a 0 at x equals -7. So it didn't explicitly say it in the directions, but we are going to write this equation in vertex form. And so if it opens up, that tells you that A is going to be positive. And then the minimum value and the axis of symmetry can be put together to make the coordinates of the vertex. These are in the earlier notes. By definition, the vertex contains the axis of symmetry in the x-coordinate because it's a vertical line that runs through the vertex, so it's x equals whatever the x-coordinate is in the vertex. The minimum or maximum value is, again, by definition, the y-coordinate of the vertex. So I put those together to make the vertex at -3, -8. I label them as h and k because we're using vertex form, and h and k are the coordinates of the vertex in vertex form. But in order to solve this, you need a second point. You need a vertex and one other point. So this one that says 0 at x equals -7, that's telling you have an x-intercept at x equals -7. That means you got four words that are synonymous to each other: x-intercept, solution, a root, or a 0. Those all mean the same thing. It means you're touching the x-axis at that point, and the y-coordinate will be 0. So that's why you can just take that information and just write it as -7 comma 0. Okay. So I'm going to plug these in for my x and y values, and I'm going to figure out my a value. Once you figure out your a value, you can write your equation. Plugging everything in, the formula has a minus right here, right? So if you're plugging in -3 for h and -7 for x, it's going to say -7 minus a -3, which is the same thing as -7 plus 3. Okay? So when you square that, -7 plus 3 is -4. When you square that, make sure you use parentheses because you should always get a positive number that goes in front of the a. You'll get positive 16. If you didn't use parentheses, you'll get -16, and that's wrong. So yeah, I got positive 16a here. I added 8 to the other side, and then I divided by 16. 8 over 16 simplifies to get 1 over 2, and then I'm going to write my final answer as y equals 1 over 2 x plus 3 squared minus 8. That's plugging in your a, h, and k value. You can always graph your answer choice to check your work. All these attributes should be true. It should open up, well, a is positive, so yeah, that'll open up. And then it should have these two in the vertex, okay? And then the 0 at -7, that means you should be touching the x-axis at -7. If one of those attributes is off, it's not the right answer. So I highly recommend you always check your work by graphing it. Number 8 says write the equation of a parabola with the following attributes. It opens down, max value at 8, axis of symmetry at x equals 3, and zeros at x equals -1 and x equals 7. So again, I should have put it in the directions, but we're going to write this in intercept form, which does not have the h and k in it. So I'm going to, just like the previous one, I'm going to use that max or min value in my axis of symmetry and put those together to form the point of my vertex. The only thing is I'm not going to label those as h and k. I'm not going to use those as h and k because I am using the intercept form and not the vertex form. So there's no h and k in that form. But you can use these points for x and y. You can use any point for x and y. Just if you're using vertex form, you got to use the vertex for h and k. And then if you're using intercept form, you have to use the x-intercepts for your p and q. So these say x equals -1 and x equals 7. It's telling you where the zeros are. Again, zeros are synonymous with solutions, roots, or x-intercepts. Okay? So it's telling you that it's touching the x-axis at -1 and 7. So you have to plug those in for p and q. A really common mistake kids make is they plug these in for the x values here because they see two x's. But then what are you plugging in for p and q? That's my question for you to think about if you've made this mistake before. So this formula has the letter x appearing twice. That means you should be plugging in the same number for x twice. So if you're plugging in a different number in for the x coordinate, you're doing it wrong. All right. You have to plug in the point that's not an x-intercept. So a vertex is not an x-intercept, not in this problem. So for number 8, it says write the equation of a parabola with the following attributes. It opens down, that means a will be negative. A max value at 8, that's the y coordinate of the vertex. And axis of symmetry at 3, that's the x coordinate of the vertex. And then it has zeros at x equals -1 and x equals 7. So my point of my vertex, I'm going to use it for x and y because I didn't say it in the directions, but we're going to do this problem in intercept form. So it's just like the last problem, just I want you to be able to do these problems no matter how it's worded. So there's two different ways we're going to get the equations by hand. You're either going to do it in vertex form or intercept form. Just look at the directions or look at your answer choices to see if they're in intercept form. It'll look like something like this, or vertex form will look something like that. But yeah, so if you're given the vertex but you have to do it in intercept form, the vertex isn't going to be h comma k anymore because there's no h and k in your formula. So just plug in these values for x and y. And then the zeros, those are going to be your p and q values. It's a real common mistake, but people plug in, they plug in -1 here and 7 there for the two x values because they see two x equals. They see x equals this and x equals that. But remember, these are x-intercepts, so that's why they say x equals. X-intercepts are just where they touch the x-axis, okay? When you have the same letter repeating in a formula, you have to repeat the same number. So that's why it doesn't make sense to plug in -1 here and 7 there. These are your x-intercepts. They have to go in for p and q. So just please pay attention to that and don't make that easy mistake. So yeah, I'm going to plug in 3 for x and 8 for y. So 3 minus -1, because p was -1, turns into 3 plus 1, and then 3 minus 7, and then y was 8. So 3 plus 1 is 4, 3 minus 7 is -4, multiplied together to get -16, divided out, you get -1 over 2, and it simplifies. So you write your final answer with the a, p, and q plugged in. So in other words, leave behind the +1 and the -7, and then put the -1/2 in front. Again, this is something that you can easily graph. You'll see that it opens down because A is negative. You'll see that it has x-intercepts at -1 and 7. And you'll see it has a vertex at 3, 8. If one of those attributes is off, that's the wrong answer. But if they're all there, then that's the correct answer. So the last problem here says a parabolic dish is positioned with its receiver 5 feet from the vertex. Write an equation for the parabolic cross section if the vertex is located at the origin. So my final answer is going to be this, but I thought I could just go over all this other stuff just in case. But here's the picture, and in this picture you see that the parabola is opening up to the right. If you have any sideways parabola, it's going to be an x equals equation, so you can automatically eliminate the y equals answers. If it's an x equals equation, then the focus will be in the x coordinate, and your directrix will be x equals, your equation will be x equals, your parabola will be sideways. Yeah, I think I said that a little out of order, but yeah, I think you get the picture. So it says it's 5 feet away. That's telling me that my p-value is going to be 5. And so my focus will be here at 5, comma 0. And so my directrix has to be opposite of that. So it'll be x equals -5. And then my equation, I'll just plug in 5 into that 1 over 4p formula to get x equals 1 over 20 y squared. So just pay attention to the detail. Is the parabola opening up or down or left and right? If it's opening up or down, it'll be in y equals. If we were in y equals, this 5 would be here in the y coordinate. This would say y equals, this would say y equals, and this would have an x squared right there. The x and y is flipped. Okay, so for full details, consult the notes over the focus and directrix. Okay, but yeah, that's going to wrap it up for part 2 of the review. I hope this helped. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.